Guys, what's going on? And welcome to another Strong Life podcast. I'm with my boy, Matt Vincent. He's crushing, looks like some pressed coffee. And you're the ultimate hipster. I mean, you're like, when we were at Summer Strong, I was like, look at Matt. It's fucking 90 degrees out. His hair's perfect. There's no body hair. He has no body hair.
Look, that one's nature. I don't do anything to suit that one.
He's got, like the hipster pants going, and he's the world champ. Like, what's your problem, man?
Yeah, just living and
just doing your thing.
Everyone finds what suits them, and I guess I'm a tad more vain or whatever it's going to be, and still like some fashion and keeping up with what's going on.
That's awesome. Listen, man, ever since I became a strength coach, my wife's like, she's like, all you wear are like those gym shirts. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, damn, that's what like all my friends wear. That's like how we dress.
No, right.
But then when I saw you, I was like, Matt really stepped it up. He's fucking it up for us.
No, it's fucking funny, man. That's one of those those jokes that we have, like with the Highland Games guys, especially when we're out. Like Andy will travel with me, and he tends to dress more normal, like not as a strength conditioning coach.
Yep. And
so the ongoing joke is like the fucking Highland Games uniform. The rest of you guys showing up in basketball shorts and some free T-shirt.
It's hard to. I'm like. For guys like you, even for guys like me, right? I'm like 220, I think. Maybe I might near 215 now. But it's friggin' hard to find clothes that fit. And while we were at, people might say to you or say to me, like, you're so big. And, dude, when you go to Soreneck Summer Strong, I'm like, oh, you're just reminded of where you stand.
No, and that's the thing. I hear it, too. And the problem is I grew up with my brother who's 6'5" and 320, and then the guys I compete against are Dan McKim and these other mutants. Like, I'm small fry. I'm 6 foot 280.
Yeah, and
no one looks twice me. I wear double X T-shirts.
It's like all perspective. I think it's one of the worst things is when you are the big fish in the small pond, right? Because you're like, oh, I could do whatever I want. I'm crushing it, and then. The size of everybody was just crazy at Summer Strong, especially that dude who was the strength coach from Virginia Tech. I don't remember his name, but
that guy's huge.
He almost deadlifted 1,000 pounds on the trap bar.
Yeah, that guy's gigantic.
He's a monster. So we got some cool questions. We're going to crush these through the Instagram. Those of you guys listening, what I'll do is I post links and show notes over at the blog. That's zachevnish.com or undergroundstrength.tv. And Matt and I were discussing how nobody even knows what we do. Like, they don't know people nowadays are like, oh, you have a website? I had no clue. Right. Because now if people aren't getting it in front of their face in the moment, meaning it's not an Instagram post or a Facebook status, they don't realize what we have. This morning when
unless apparently you're Jim Wendler and you've done nothing to try to put yourself out there in the last 10 years and still manage to be relevant, which is just for the life of me.
I was thinking of Jim today because I was like, damn, I remember him and I spoke at the North Carolina State Strength Coach Clinic, and he's like, I'm hungry. You want to go get something to eat? So I was like, absolutely. Let's go to the cafeteria here. I'm thinking we're going to get turkey sandwich or something like that. Jim got 3 different candy bars. I was like, what the hell is this? So
one of the worst things that ever happened to him was the Hooters in London, Ohio closed.
Oh God!
So now the only place to eat's Outback.
Oh my God! So he actually has to eat something more than a Snickers bar. I can't remember what he was eating. It was 3 candy bars. It was impressive, dude. So.
That sounds about right.
We're not recommending that nutrition. We're not recommending that nutrition protocol.
That seems to work for him.
Yes, he's still he's got abs and everything. So
yeah, of course.
We will link up. But Matt, what's your website? Spell it out so for the people listening.
It's thehate.com. That's my brand.
Yep.
And it is HVIII. So that's H with the Roman numeral 8 VIII and .com.
Perfect.
That's it. That's where it's got all of my gear. My blog stuff has really not existed anymore. I still write, and I've got it in books. or I'll write occasionally for Mark Bell's magazine, Power, or just as I kind of feel like it.
Yep.
But this is mostly the site with the gear, easiest place to find me. And then most of my writing blog stuff has now turned into video stuff, and I'm doing a lot more YouTube.
Yes, the videos look really cool, man. So it's we're gonna get into that because we got some tech kind of like business questions here. We got great training questions. And then for those that aren't listening, Matt, you won the World Championships Highland Games. What year was that?
I did.
What year was
2012 and 2014.
And what was this weekend? You just competed?
Oh, this was just fun and games. This was I compete about 20 times a year.
Yep.
And so think of more like track season, right? That I'm going to compete a lot, but not every one of them necessarily matters. So, well, I mean, that's the truth. I mean, they matter and I want to win, but if I want to throw fars, like I can't peak 6 weeks in advance for this game.
You're always
some
ready.
Of these, I'm going to be slower. I'm not going to be in the best shape. I'm just going to train through them, basically, and go do the best you can and maybe work on one thing that you're trying to accomplish that week.
Always ready. You're always ready to go.
Yeah, it knocks off some of the competition dust. I think that's something athletes miss a ton on, is they spend so much time training that they don't know how to compete.
That was me.
If you can't have that confidence in yourself to get it done when it counts.
Yep, that was definitely me. I mean, things were different back when I was a competitive wrestler. I think it would be like 3 or 4 tournaments a year, and nothing was local. Now our athletes, not even now, but when my brother was in high school, and I'm 40, I think he's like 34, 35. I remember he's like, yep, this off season I wrestled 180 matches. I was like, holy shit. So when you compete frequently, your nerves are gone. You perform at a higher level. I remember, I still have these memories of like learning how I trained wrong. I remember being able to just crush it during a practice. And I remember being gassed out at the end of the first period of my first varsity match. And in my brain, I'm talking to myself saying, how the hell am I tired? It's 2 minutes in, but I go through a 2.5 hour practice, and I learned, you hear Joe Rogan say it on the UFC, like, oh, he had a nervous system dump.
Yeah, no, man, that happens, and it's crazy. The only time I've ever really had that is I did a handful of like mountain bike races and type of stuff like that, and man, come out of the gate and just trashed and everything shuts down.
We're gonna get into. I'm gonna pull out some questions because I did not know you used to own a bike shop.
Yeah,
which is
former life.
Yes, so cool. Let's get into these questions. That's cool, man, because I was watching your garage gym tour, and I'm like, what? Matt owned a bike shop, so. We're going to kind of just let this stuff flow. So first question we got here coming from Coach Kroom. Says, what's your opinion on using barbell complexes for athletic development? So you've got more experience in weightlifting. I'm going to let you take this question first, and then I'll see what I could add on to it.
No, I think it's good. I like doing them. I like it for a nervous system warm-up. I like for, that type of thing. Do I think I want to max out on a barbell complex? No, not really. It's not going to really benefit me as a thrower because I don't compete in anything that has a barbell. But as far as just a general movement pattern, maybe some conditioning and stuff like that. Now, conditioning is good for any athlete. I don't give a shit what you compete in. If it's powerlifting or if it's Highland Games, I mean, look, I'm active during a competition like 27 times for half a second. But I am on a field for 6 or 8 hours.
Yep.
If you're not in good shape, you gas by the end of the day. I see it happen to guys all the time. And so, I mean, that's powerlifting too. How many guys do you see get up for a deadlift and can't move? They're trashed.
Yeah.
They can't maintain. And so being able to do some barbell complex is just part about being a better athlete. And there's never anyone who sucked at competing because they were a better athlete.
Right. Athleticism, I think. Movement. Yeah, so kind of what you said with you guys being outside all day during Highland Games, the heat or whatever the weather might be, maybe even slightly dehydrated, you're not getting your meals in. A lot of times people confuse training for the sport versus training for the season, training for the competitive event. For example, John Welborn talks about you're training to handle football camp. You're training to handle football season. You're training to handle going through a full practice and kicking ass and taking names so the coach can identify you as somebody who's going to be a leader, somebody they could count on. So when I think of complexes, I'm with you, like full GPP, general physical preparation. And there's going to be certain carryover better for other athletes. So for a wrestler or an MMA fighter or a jiu-jitsu practitioner or somebody who's got to do repeated bouts of kind of strength endurance, power endurance, this would be great. And it's just a reminder to me, like, we've been doing a lot of power cleans, hand cleans, but we haven't been using it in a complex. So I'm going to program these probably in the next cycle to do things like, and I used to do these myself, but maybe it'd be like 5 power cleans, 5 back squats, 5 reverse lunges, 5 good mornings, then bring it back over, 5 bent over row, 5 deadlift, 5 shrug, and then your grip gets smoked. If you could do that for 2 or 3 rounds, you could be an animal. And some history, I think me and Jim and I spoke with, Istvan Javorek. You know Steve Javorek? Coach Steve? Okay, Romanian weightlifter. Old school Romanian weightlifter.
Okay.
He's a strength coach. He probably retired, was at a community college. Where are you? What state are you in?
I'm in Louisiana.
Louisiana. So he's
down in Baton Rouge.
He's somewhere down. Man, where the heck is he? I'm almost going to say he's in Missouri. So
I thought you were talking about Steve Justa for a second.
No, not Steve Justa, but this guy's name is his name is Istvan Javorek, and you guys can go on YouTube and look up Javorek Complex, Javorek. He used to train some guys in the NBA, a lot of track and field athletes, and he was huge on the barbell complexes. And he would even have some of his NBA guys, when they got in great shape, he would have them do light complexes in the morning, and then they'd go have their game later. And he said it fired up their nervous system. It got them warmed up rather than feeling cold. So for athleticism, excellent. If you're looking on, absolute strength and just explosive power, I think you would just go with a variation of a weightlifting exercise, right? Or a throw or a jump.
The other thing, as far as athletes, especially if you're an athlete, like I said, that doesn't compete with a barbell, you're a wrestler or a thrower or a basketball player or anything, this also gives you something that you can do that's a much lighter weight, that the risk of injury is going to be low, but you'll fatigue. And having some of that, especially as a wrestler or jiu-jitsu fighter, having some of that lactic acid, that threshold, that's learn to suffer.
Yep.
Complexes will damn sure do it without the risk of injury of the heavy weight.
Yep, a little bit of a gut check.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes you need it.
Absolutely. So let's go on to the next question. This is a good one. This is from AD Garcia04. He's like, what's the best advice for someone starting their own podcast? And, I'm going to say this, that so Matt and I were here, we're chatting obviously now on the podcast. Then when we're down in Sore Neck Summer Strong, everybody's hanging out. And we're like, it's almost like an excuse to talk with your friends. because you're not, it's like there's a part of me that like bothers me about like our lifestyle, that we choose it, but we get so busy in all the social media and the work and getting your stuff out there that it's like, we see each other and then we're like, shit, dude, how have we not even hopped on the phone with one another this year?
Right.
How are we not, like, we get so tied up in that. So my advice, if you're starting a podcast is just have conversations with your friends, number one. Number two, I of course say, what are you about? Like, what are you standing for? Who is this, who is the audience for? And number three is you got to realize that if you want, your podcast, if you want it to reach many, then you've got to learn the marketing behind it. And not just learn the marketing, but you're going to have to do Facebook advertising. You're going to have to put money behind it. And the reason why I'm saying that is Matt and I were discussing some of the questions, and he's like, yo, bro, I wrote a book about that question. And I said, nobody knows what you do anymore unless It's in front of their face in the moment, meaning what we said earlier. It's a Facebook status post. It's an Instagram. It's a Snapchat. It's what's happening right now. And do you have their attention grabbed in less than 5 seconds, or are you going to get swiped away? So I say this. Don't get caught up in the numbers of who's listening unless your goal is, I'm going to be the mother effing best, right? I'm going to be the best podcast. If you're going to be the best, then you're going to have to put a lot of time, thought, energy. You're going to need the whole professional system going on. You're going to have to put advertising behind it. You're going to have to study, what other people have done to make it happen. For me, I'm more of a raw guy. Like, I don't care if I have the intro or not. Right now I'm not using a microphone. And my goal is to really get to the real people, the people that care about training, that care about success versus somebody.
Yeah, you're putting out quality content instead of giving too much of a shit about the packaging. And for you, a guy who's busy, that stuff's going to bog you down. And you can get caught up in all of that instead of not getting to the point.
Right.
That the information is what you want to share.
Sure. So if you've got a team, right? You got a team. Hey, I'll hire somebody on Fiverr to do the intro for me. I'll hire somebody to edit. That's just not my style. So I stick. We know our style, meaning you and I were talking about this in South Carolina. We were saying we're just not that hyped up on what it takes to get ripped or do these, because that's not what we're about. That's not us. We want to train to be strong, train to kick ass, and talk about lifestyle, living that lifestyle. So to me, it's you got to just know who you are and what you're about, and then stand for it. And if you want to go,
that's exactly right. And also be willing to understand that feeling can change.
True.
Everyone's going to have different times. Real quick, back to the guy asking about the podcast stuff, man. My advice is, figure out what you want to accomplish with it. And then, two, there's a law of diminishing returns to equipment. I've learned this through doing a lot of filming for YouTube now. Can you spend $100,000 setting up a podcast? Yeah, probably. I bet Joe Rogan has. But if this is your first podcast and you don't have anyone listening and you don't have a built-in audience, there's a point where it's good enough. You can't have it shit so that the quality is so bad that it'll turn people off and they won't listen.
Yep.
That way, it's not distracting from the content.
Yeah.
But once you've reached that point, don't spend any more money. You don't also have to have a video element to it. This is just another way to record it.
Yeah.
Do that. Figure out those things and figure out those goals. The other thing is, if you're going to set out to do something, don't set out to make a shitty podcast.
Kick ass.
Set out to make the best podcast you can.
That's right.
And go from there. And, have some faith that this is your voice, this is the message you want to put out, and that the audience who's into that is going to find you. And when they do find you, they'll see that you're genuine, and they'll want to keep listening.
Yeah. The other thing that, you make... Those points are great, is that I'm looking at these questions here. You don't half-ass it. You got to know that you have an audience. And then you talking about the audience brings me back is there was a point where people would reach out and say, hey, I want to interview you. And somebody had interviewed me. And I said yes to the interview when I was trying to kind of lay low on interviews. I just wanted to focus on my gym. And it had a great title, his podcast. He had a great website. He had all the I guess what looked like the whole foundation set, but he wasn't really passionate about what we were talking about. He just wasn't into it. Then he got the stuff up. He never really promoted it. So if you're going to do the podcast, I'm going to tell you this, that shit won't just explode on your own. You've got to, the podcast works not just through promotion, but you're engaging. So I'm going to tell you, AD Garcia, listen to Gary Vaynerchuk. He constantly talks about engaging. I like to share my info out, but I love doing these Q&As because to me, what's important to me is what's important to them. So I don't want to pick topics that they're not interested in. So I'm asking questions. But sometimes a cool podcast starts out with just you and your friends sharing lessons, sharing stories.
Like Rogan's, right?
Yes.
Where it's just a conversation between two guys.
And that's why he does it.
They cover a lot of ground.
He loves it. He said, that's why I do. He goes, I just want to have, these kind of high-level conversations with these high-level thinkers, and that's it.
Right, and I mean, with that said, for something like Rogan's, you know, and since I've been producing content of, you know, variety, you know, now for over a year and a half or 2 years, the one thing I noticed listening to his is how easy it comes across, how this conversation just rolls.
Yep.
And because it is that easy, I realize there's a lot of work going into it.
Sure.
That's the biggest thing. Anything that comes across smooth and there's a lot of, it was just effortless. That's because he's got 3 people in there doing homework.
Yes.
He's done his homework,
right.
And he's really, really genuinely interested in the people he's talking to.
Yeah, he's genuinely interested. He's a good conversationalist. If you look at what Tim Ferriss does, Tim talks about how he'll really study diligently the person he's going to interview. But he will interview, you know, I think he interviewed Will Smith. Like, he'll interview.
He seems to be he's a guy that I just can't quite put my finger on. He's
right.
a guy that everyone seems to be really into, and I just can't get in. Doesn't do anything for me.
There you go. And that's what I think he knows, and what other people have to get good at is, like, you're not going to be for everybody, nor should you want to be for everybody. Because
right. I'm not mad at Tim Ferriss about it.
Right.
I mean, clearly a lot of people like it, but
right.
It's just not for me.
As soon as you want to make everybody happy, you're fucked.
No, you make no one happy.
It'll never happen. So, you know, if we game like the simple format is, what are you about? And make sure that if you're going to start doing a podcast, like, put your heart and soul into it. Don't just half-ass it. The equipment doesn't have to be super high-end, but you got to put your heart and soul into it, period. And I'm going to leave it at that.
The other side of it, the other quick thing is be consistent. If you're going to podcast once a week, podcast once a week.
Yes.
Don't miss any dates. I mean, that's really the cool thing about what we have now with YouTube or a podcast or any of these is I don't have to turn on ABC to try to catch a show on Sunday night.
But that's what people used to do. They used to go.
That's exactly what you used to do. People like schedules and people like structure.
Yeah.
And so knowing that, every day at 8 a.m., there's a new video up from Matt. That's, you know, people get used to that.
Every Thursday at 9 o'clock was Seinfeld or whatever, and people are still talking about that shit. So, you know, that's it. Consistency, have fun. If you ain't having fun, whatever. It's like, you know.
What the fuck are you doing?
Exactly. It's no good.
I mean, at the end of the day, what are you doing? I mean, just, why waste any of this limited time that I've got on the earth doing shit I hate?
That's what technology is allowing everybody to do now, is to get out of what you hate and to not be a zombie in this world. So if you don't like something, then you got to have something going on behind the scenes that allows you to, I guess in layman's terms, Mark Bell always said that his dad, said to him, you should always be looking for your next job, even if you're if you're crushing it.
Absolutely, that's one of my favorite bits of advice I've ever gotten.
Yes,
is the best time to look for a job is while you have one.
Meaning, even if you, and I think in a general word, like from an entrepreneurial standpoint, Gary Vee says, how can I put myself out of business? Meaning he doesn't want to fall in love with, he's not treating, he's like, okay, I used to crush it through Google AdWords, and he's not holding on to it like an emotional girlfriend. He's like, this is what works now, and that's what I'm rolling with.
Next thing.
Right.
Be able to roll with it.
Podcasts are hot right now. I don't know. Things will change down the road.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, who knows what's next and where technology brings it. I mean, it's amazing that you can reach as many people now as you can. I mean, shit, dude, we both got into this when, like, bulletin boards were a thing.
Yeah.
And that was how you communicated.
When I do Skype, there's always a part that says, that's like, damn, I remember when I watched Total Recall freshman year in high school, and he's talking to the guy on the phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, in the future we're gonna do that.
Yeah, right, man.
Seems like yesterday.
It's nuts how big that reach is, and I mean, it's good and bad, right? Because I mean, there's always going to be a sea of bullshit that you're going to have to wade through to find anything good. But it sure seems that no matter what the genre is, even though there's this just loads and loads of information from people who know and people who honestly don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Cream still rises to the top.
Yep.
And that's the truth. The good stuff still gets out there. With that said, like, back to what we were saying, if you're creating something, don't create the best thing in the world that no one's ever heard of.
Yep.
I mean, you got to do the marketing behind it and push it.
Yes.
None of that shit happens by accident.
And that's
good marketing damn near beats a perfect product.
Sometimes that's the. I was talking with somebody yesterday. I'm not going to mention his name, but I was like, damn, I'm so disappointed in myself that I'm only now coming across your information, and I wish I came across your stuff before. And he said, it's actually my least favorite part is making these videos and this and that. But it's like, it's so inspiring what you're doing. Like, I want to share it. So he's not even trying, but he inspired me so much that I'm like, dude, I have to share what you're. I've got to share what you're doing, and that falls under the umbrella of marketing. Like, it's so awesome.
Of course.
You want to share it with people. So
I mean, can you imagine in this day and age, like, taking your money and buying advertising, like, on a TV channel? Like, what a waste that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why wouldn't you instead spend that money on a camera and put out 10 videos on YouTube?
I know. It's like, it's just a different world. And that's what you got to get. That's what you have to become. I'll also say this with a podcast. Like, some people want nothing to do with the YouTube life and the internet world. But let's say you run a gym or maybe like you're a chiropractor, whatever you are. You could run a podcast just for your members or just for the people that are interested in what you do. You could run a podcast just for your gym where you're interviewing your gym members and talking with your coaches. Like, people love that stuff, man. It kills time.
Yeah, it's building a community and a lifestyle. That's what people get on board with now.
I'm always listening to podcasts when I'm driving, when I'm kind of just, let's say I'm out. We had a barbecue and a birthday party and had a bunch of people in the house. So, like, while I'm with my dog, some of the kids were scared of my dog. I'm like, I'm just going to go outside and have a little drink and listen to the Talk to Me Johnny with him and Andy Stump. And it was like, even though it's just me, my dog, and a drink, it's like I felt like I was hanging out with John and Andy. And I think if you could do that, you're golden. So, cool, man. I think that's good on the podcast. We got another question. This is a cool one. I'm going to defer to you, Matt, because you're stronger. This is from Papa Docs. First of all, it's a great Instagram name, Papa Docs. He says, I got a simple question. I plateaued on my deadlifts. What should I do to succumb or break this demotivating barrier? I love he's got a lot of drama behind that. So he hit a deadlift plateau. I've seen you, I don't know what your max is, but I saw like a video not long ago. You just destroyed 500 for 10 reps.
Yeah, I've done that. I think my best's like a 555 for 10 reps. I'm just under a 700-pound puller. I pulled 652 at Burdick's meet not too long ago, just before knee surgery, and then I'm an okay deadlifter. As far as plateaus go, right? I would have a few other follow-up questions, like, what are you currently doing?
Yep.
How long have you been lifting?
Yep.
And are you doing all the right things? Are you eating? Are you sleeping? Are you doing the intangibles that have nothing to do with the gym?
I can't see his lifts because he's got a private account, so I don't know
But either way, right? And so let's say, what are you trying to do to get over it? Have you decided to, restart the program you're on, or are you just banging your head into the wall, missing lifts?
And not on the
stronger
program.
Missing lifts.
Right.
So, why not change it up and go back and restart the program based on your new max?
Like a 5-3-1.
Yeah, anyone's program. That's a successful linear progression.
I think sticking to a program is clutch. So kind of reverse engineering. This is where I'm at. This is what I want to do. Training up to something. So you spoke about you were in Jesse Burdick's powerlifting meet. And we got to get Jesse on the podcast. But I remember the first time I deadlifted 500 was at a tactical strength challenge, which is the pull-up, the snatch, the pull-up, the deadlift, and the snatch. And I remember just signing up for the competition. I was like, I can't show up not strong.
Yeah, no,
like,
man, having that deadline is a huge part of it.
Yes.
Because,
yeah.
you know, and without getting too crazy deep here, I mean, but that's life, right? And it's weird to think the long term about your entire life, but it's true. I mean, whether I decide to eat cheeseburgers today and lay around on the couch, or I decide to train for something,
Yep.
I mean, I'm going to end up in the ground at some point. That time's going to come. There's going to be a time where I can't lift anymore, where I can't push myself anymore, where my body has failed me. Maybe the mind still wants to go, but it doesn't fucking matter. Now, I can do things to stack the cards in my favor to have a longer run at that. I mean, shit, look at Pops with sore necks. You know, still picking up heavy weights and killing it over 60 years old.
Yep.
But having a deadline and knowing that time is coming,
Yep.
that I'm going to do this, prepared or not. So I may as well get my shit together and be prepared so that I can put up the best performance I can.
Yep. And if you're not, even if you're not competing, you look like a younger kid. Let's say you got training partners, then you can compete and say, look, man, at the end of the month, we're going to see who's got the best 5-rep deadlift, the best 1-rep deadlift, the best whatever it is. So competing, number one, I think is going to be clutch. Things that helped me hit my best was not, I use this equation. I go, if you kill the deadlift, it will kill you. So if you're like grinding and pulling hard and you're always trying to destroy yourself on the deadlift, for some people that works, but for me, it just crushed me. I found that kind of hovering around that.
My deadlift grows with reps.
Yeah. Oh, so yours goes with reps. I'm better in that like 60 to 80% hitting like.
When I say reps, I'm talking like 5s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so
I'm not talking 12.
Those 5 touch and goes
Yeah.
build up those hamstrings in a much different way than if you're just doing singles, doubles, triples.
Pull some deficit, pull with some bands, change it up a little bit. But if you're going to do something, stick to it. Don't do it for one workout. So if you're going to pull bands, do an entire 5 or 6 week block using bands. And that way you actually get something out of it. It's not the one workout that's going to make or break you. It's what have you done in the last 10 years? Dude,
no shit. Like when somebody's like, hey, how do I build up my squat? It's like, man, this shit is not, I know we mentioned like training cycles and training programs. But
it's 10-year goals. It's 1-year goals. At this point
years.
right now, as me as an athlete, I'm 33 years old. I've competed basically nonstop in something since I was in middle school. I mean, dude, if I had a 10-pound squat PR, and a fucking home run.
Yeah, you got to fight for it. I would say you're going to fight for these gains. Some other things that are going to boost is when you look at the deadlift is what I kind of try to reverse engineer exercise. So I'm like, what are all the things it takes to build that deadlift? So I need strong legs. So I got to squat. I got to lunge. I got to do glute ham raises. My back has to be strong, so I'm going to do barbell rowing. I'm going to do heavy one-arm dumbbell rowing. But I've also seen some people, they don't need to do any of that assistance or supplemental work. They just deadlift, and that boosts their deadlift. And I think that the gym has to be your lab, right? You're always...
Of course, man. There are some simple rules that apply to anyone touching the barbell. But at some point, you've got to put in the time and training to know what works for you. And there's going to be some specifics that work for me better than you. I mean, guys that can do that squat every day shit, good on you.
Yep.
I'd fucking be crippled.
That would crush me.
I can't do that.
I did it for 30 days.
And I just can't.
I did it for a month, but I didn't do every day. I did a Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
I did a Monday through Friday, and it was more of like a mental challenge. And I know my body, meaning when I say my body, how it works as a whole. And I'm a big kind of psychological guy, meaning if it's in my mind and I'm a believer in it, it will benefit me. So in my mind, I was like, okay, you squatted 30 days in a row. Now you have to PR. Whether the program actually worked or not, you didn't just do those 4 weeks of 5 days in a row squat and now you're not going to PR. So now I'm giving you no choice. You've got to PR. I'll say this to Papa Docs. What would help us, this would help you and I, if he would post video footage of him deadlifting, then you and I could take it a step further and say, okay, you're deadlifting, but I see your butt shooting up first.
Right.
I see your background, or I'm just looking at your physique, and you're not jacked. You need to get jacked, bro. You need to fucking put muscle all around, and now we're going to be able to...
That's another thing. The truth is maybe your fucking deadlift sucks.
Yeah, or maybe you're just weak.
Yeah, and not only that, so I mean, quit trying to add this 5 pounds to your deadlift where where you're at the end of your limit, honestly, and you have this huge rounded back and your ass shoots up and you're doing this stuff. Why don't you spend some time at 70%? Find the heaviest weight that you can do perfect.
Yep.
And do some slow reps. Do some controlled eccentrics. Do 3 seconds on the way up, 3 seconds on the way down. Do some of that slow movement stuff where you're going to have to fight to hold those positions. I mean, the better positions you can hold in your upper body so that the power in your legs actually transfers up instead of you folding over, that's how you get better. And so 70%, if it's 225, and you can do that for 10, if you can, 3 weeks later do 300 for 10, that's stronger. It doesn't always have to be that finite number.
There's 100. It's like the problem is like with coaching. I love giving the advice, but sometimes it's like, damn, there's 100 things we could do to improve somebody.
Right.
So look, I'm gonna say this: if we got to give general stand, I'm gonna be like, dude, don't just look at how to dead. So it's not just the deadlift. Boost your squat, boost your rowing, barbell rowing, dumbbell rowing. Strengthen up everything on the back side, whether it's glute ham raises, back extensions, Romanian deadlifting. Utilize these things to just build your body into more of like a fucking tank, is what I'm saying. And then the deadlift will go up, and then add some competition to it. Tell your friends, just say, hey, at the end of June, we're having a deadlift competition in my garage, or at wherever we train, 24-hour fitness.
People get confused by that by saying you have to compete. Look, man, you don't have to get on a platform. I don't give a fuck what federation you compete in. Make that competition at your local CrossFit gym. Make that competition with your buddies.
Yeah.
Do something, but set a timeline and set a goal that you're going to show up for.
True.
I mean, that's the key. Be accountable to you. Quit having some bullshit excuse. And this should be important for you because this is what you want to accomplish. And who cares if no one else shows up to compete?
Yeah.
Decide in 4 weeks, I'm going to pull a PR.
Yeah, and just tell your friends, just be like, dude, in the garage gym, at whatever gym we train at, we are having a deadlift challenge with belt, no belt. You're going to get 3 chances to build up.
Change it up.
Yeah, we're doing 3 chances to build up to your 1 rep max. Then we're going to do it again at the end of the summer. It's going to be, the strongest deadlift of summer. Like,
another
there's so many ways to do these challenges, and those in-house challenges are fun. They're just fucking cool, man.
Yeah, dude. And another thing to look at is, who are you training with? Are you training alone? Are you the fucking strongest guy in your training group?
You train alone, right?
Yeah, I do.
So do I.
Yeah, and it's been fine for me. I'm also not trying to compete as a powerlifter right now.
But
I would need to probably mix that up a little bit if I was going to take powerlifting seriously. I would need a little bit different environment. I can do pretty good by myself.
Yep.
But it sure be nice to have a handoff every now and then.
When you're benching, yes. Or hey, I'm going to squat. I'm breaking a PR. I don't have safety. Yeah, I don't have safety. I don't have safety catches, safety straps in my rack. Having that spot is definitely key. There's something that you and I think it's going to come up when we talk about. We have a mental toughness question, but you're 33. I'm 40. You don't have kids, but still you're disciplined. You're training all the time. I don't know if you're holding yourself accountable by posting your stuff on Instagram. But there is
it's all part of it.
Right. There's a discipline involved in being able to train hard, whether you've got a training partner or not, whether the situation/scenario is perfect or not. I've eliminated a lot of bullshit, meaning in the morning, I wake up early, I make my wife coffee and breakfast, I make the kids breakfast, we have fun in the morning, I take them to school, and then I go straight to my gym, or I'm in my garage, and my garage only has a barbell. You've got a squat cage. So you got those. I've got everything. You got the blocks. You have got a sweet setup. But let's say people got it just like me. I don't even have blocks. I don't have a rack. My garage is taken over by all the kids stuff. Sure. What's important is that man, you remove these obstacles that impede
Eliminate excuses.
yes, anything that impedes you, like there's a self-discipline, like you just said, like, I always say, punch your excuses in the face, and I'm human.
Yeah.
I'm human. I've got them all, like, while I'm going.
Well, that's everyone does. So is your competition.
Yeah, the level, that makes it a level playing field. So it just matters, like, what are you going to do? Like, you just got to fucking say, I'm going to be a savage. I decided that I'm going to start training Monday through Friday. None of this, every other blah, blah. I was like, dude, I'm going to just kick ass Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, especially in the summertime here, we're super active outside a lot. But if there is free time, maybe I'm going to do some cleans, or maybe I'm going to do some speed deadlifts in the garage. Maybe. But I get that Monday through Friday because psychologically, I wasn't feeling like I was getting where I wanted to with 3 or 4 workouts a week. So, this next question, this one guy's asking, he goes, you talk a lot about mental toughness, and do you train athletes conditioning different if they have no problem with mental toughness? So there's a big psychological component to training, meaning I just said I could probably get great results at 3 days a week workouts, but in fact, I trained less frequently in my younger years. I used to train every other day. Now I'm training Monday through Friday. I haven't found anybody who has no problem with mental toughness. There's always
everyone's got a breaking point. Everyone's got something that
even at the highest levels,
this isn't enough of a priority for them.
Yep, even at the highest levels, meaning everyone. I've worked with wrestlers that have gone to Olympic trials. We're always trying to get them better. Now, their mental toughness might not be in the conditioning. It might be struggling and straining under heavy weights. It might be training in the morning when maybe they're not a morning person, but I got to prepare them to train hard in the morning because sometimes you're going to compete in the morning. You can't just train at 4 p.m.
I seem to have less excuses at 5 a.m.
Is that when you train?
No, I train in the afternoon, but I get up at about 5 or 6, and then I get in the garage and I do something.
I saw you did that. Like you did a bodyweight circuit. You did some smashing. I've been
just trying to wake the body up. It takes 15 minutes.
It feels friggin' great. I started getting much more dedicated to my mobility and my soft tissue work, and I said, you know what? I'm done feeling like shit because I felt like a fucking pussy.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, who's fucking responsible for it? There's not a podcast that I'm going to listen to. There's not any videos I'm going to watch that are going to do it for me. I still have to put one foot in front of the other, get my fucking fat ass in there and do the work.
And I think that's a lot of the videos and all the social media stuff. It's where we are today, and it will distract you if you let it. Or
of course.
That's right. Or you could say, yeah, cool. I could be like, all right, let me see what Matt's doing to be inspired, and then let me shut off the phone and let me do some work. You know what I'm saying?
You're not going to miss anything in an hour and a half.
That's right.
Social media. You can shut it down for an hour and a half. Nothing is that much of an emergency.
Right. Ask Jim Wendler.
Right.
Jim Wendler's by the way, Jim Wendler has recently been sponsored by Kit Kat and Reese's. Okay. So, and this question, this guy was asking me, like, the different training of mental toughness. This morning I sent a text message to one of my athletes, and I said, listen, bro, he's a real big guy. He's transferring out of a Division I college football program. And whenever he comes to the gym, he kind of like wants to, mosey his way and say, hey, can I work this instead of that? I really want to work this. And I said, look, bro, even if you're in the fucking NFL, you need to start listening to us because you do what you want to do, not what you need to do. And I said, the reason why shit hurts is because you're an idiot. Like, you'll go to the other gym and then you're doing, XYZ for an hour. Well, that shit's not helping you. I go, you got to decide what you want to do. And I tell that to my coaches too. A lot of times the college kids will be like, hey, I'm going to do this program. And sometimes the mental toughness is the discipline to do the thing versus gutting out a workout. So there's all
That's
these.
exactly right.
Yeah.
That word alone, discipline. That's the thing a lot of people fuck up. And that's going to be food. That's going to be your training. That's going to be consistency. Consistency is the name of the game for anything.
True.
Whether you want to get stronger, you want to get better, nothing's going to happen one day. And discipline is very easy. It's very, very simple, but it's not easy.
True.
Discipline with a diet. Man, if I could simply just eat fish and broccoli for the next 120 days, I bet I get a lot leaner. I'd also want to blow my brains out.
Yep.
But it's not hard to do that. I mean, that is food and calories. I could prep it all and just shovel it in.
Yeah, you have to. It's weird. Like for a while, I was, my wife will get like chips and things like that, and the kids will eat it. I don't want my kids to just like never eat a potato chip or to not have ice cream. But I found myself, all right, if they're eating chips, I'll eat some chips. If everybody's going out for ice cream, I'll eat ice cream. Now, I'm not Mr. Party Pooper and I never eat ice cream, but it's like if my son wants to go and pick up, Dairy Queen or whatever, then the majority of the time, I'm just not going to have that. The majority of the time. Or I'm going to eat clean. Or if everybody's eating cheeseburgers with the bread, I don't got to eat it with the bread. I'm going to fucking eat just the burger. So discipline, it's the name of the game.
I just got done writing something, working on a new book, and talking about food. And fuck, man, I love really good food. I like shitty food. I
like the Southern Belly.
Yeah, that's great stuff,
dude,
right? That's one of my favorite places on earth.
That's one of the best barbecue places. That's one of the best friggin' sandwiches. I'm not even like a crazy food guy. If I can eat steak, peanut butter, and drink coffee, I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, so it's moderation, right? And I think everything needs to be done in moderation, including moderation. So some days, find that balance. Find that balance that, like, today, right? If I'm stuck at home working from home all day today, I'm going to eat really, really clean.
Yep.
Probably have some type of a salad for lunch, maybe some tuna fish, things like this. I'll avoid probably carbs for the most part, and calories will stay very, very clean today. I know that's a clean word, but you know exactly what I mean. However, I'm out competing and I'm in Scotland hanging out with some friends. I'm going to have a pint. You know what I mean? I'm not carrying fucking Tupperware to Europe. Don't be that guy either.
Don't be like Jim Wendler would carry the Tupperware, not you. Tupperware with Reese's peanut butter cups. Man, we are hooking Jim Wendler.
That guy either. Unless that's your goal. If your goal is to fucking get on stage and wear underwear and be as lean as you can fucking be, then you need to have some different priorities. But for the rest of us, performance athletes, there's some middle ground there.
I don't think bodybuilders are listening to this anyway.
That's kind of what I wrote. I wrote in there, like, look, the chances are if you're trying to get on stage and be really lean, you're not real concerned with what I have to say. Anyway.
That's right. You're not even listening to us. Although I did bodybuild before, so all right,
and good on them. I totally respect that amount of discipline.
Yes,
to fucking do that.
It was the ultimate challenge, and I loved. That's the thing I loved. The whole I remember as soon as I said I'm going to compete in the teenage New Jersey, it was like my world. I don't remember if I told the story, but I remember I used to wake up at 7 a.m. lights out at 11. I remember like the hottest girl was at my house, and 11 o'clock I just like walked over, shut off the TV, and I was like, all right, I gotta go. You gotta go.
You either staying or going. Your choice now.
Oh man, and I look back and I was like, damn, I was a disciplined dude, man.
Oh right. But
I was a disciplined guy.
What ends, right? And the big thing for me and what I'm a junkie of, I'm a life experience guy. And back to what I was saying about I don't know how many days I've got left, and that's my ongoing comment for any time I've ever had someone say about tattoos, right? But what are you going to do when you're 60? Like, who the fuck's guaranteeing me 60?
You got to man. Andy and John spoke about something with their Talk to Me Johnny live, and they were talking about like if you live in the past, you're going to be depressed. If you live in the future, you have anxiety. It may have been from Musashi, and then if you live in the present, you're at peace. And
but I mean, with that said, you've got to learn from the past. You're fucking crazy if you don't.
True.
And then enjoy today, and make sure that you. That's probably the biggest thing that the message like I want to get to people is, man, love the fucking process.
Yes.
And the big secret that guys like you or myself or Bert Soren or Adam Nelson, Olympians, and these guys have, the biggest secret that they have is that they know there's no end. There is no finish line. There's nowhere we're actually going.
Yeah.
There's no top of the mountain. It's the process.
And when
Learn
you
to love that.
When you reach the top, we were just talking about bodybuilding. I remember that after the bodybuilding show, and then training, I remember like I started feeling winded, or I was just like, what am I training? It was like, what the heck's going on now? 6 months of training just for that day. Then it was over. I didn't know what I was training for. And now, like I tell people, I go, what are you training for? I'm training for life. I'm training to always feel like a bad motherfucker. I'm training to be dangerous. And that's the process. And I know it sounds kind of arrogant. I'm not trying to sound arrogant. What I'm saying is like I fear the normalcy of things. So I always want to be, I feel like I want to be tough.
And that's the same for me too, right? I mean, I'm a performance athlete who wants to succeed at the Highland Games. Yep. But I also want to be in good enough shape and not so specialized that if my wife wants to go for a fucking bike ride this weekend, I can.
And your knees, you're going, my knee, my back. You don't want that. No,
I still want to live.
Yes.
I want to be healthy enough and fit enough that if the opportunity for an amazing experience pops up, one of the things I want to do, I've been talking about recently, is that I really at some point want to climb Kilimanjaro, and I really want to do Fuji. Neither of these are very technical climbs. They're simply a walk. But I'm going to be in shape enough to do those.
Yeah. We were discussing kind of like a group. I've never gone hunting, and we were discussing like a group hunting trip. And John Welborn was talking about like some guy, I think was going out to hunt caribou, and he said like the way you're going to have to do it is you're going to have to bag some and then bear bag the rest, and then you're going to like have a sled. And he said the guy was going to hike 3 days in and then 3 days out. And he's like, so our training was going to be a lot of this carrying and sled drags and general physical preparation. And that is kind of the training for life thing.
Well, look at Cameron Haynes.
Yes.
He's a good follow. He's been on Rogan a lot. He's a hunter.
Yes. He's really
a fucking monster.
He's ripped up, man.
But he should. I mean, look, he's also 180 pounds. So
yes. He trains.
Too much credit
I can't remember if they've gone over how he trains. I think it's a bit of a CrossFit-ish bodybuilder kind of.
Well, it is, but he also does endurance running. Like he'll go do 100K.
That's right.
Like he does.
So he's lazy.
Yeah, lazy. I would say the biggest thing he's got going for him is simple genetics.
And also, I think there's also you could train for kind of this aesthetic/performance, but then if you do the regular thing that you do, let's say you just go mountain biking a lot, you go hiking a lot, that is your training, and it trains you to do it gives you a wider base. And I think that's an awesome point is you want to be able to do many things and not be at a point where you're like, well, I can't do that because of my back, because of my knee, because of this. So in the summertime, my son and I, we go mountain biking, we surf. I'm out in the water. I'm able to do stuff. I mean, I don't think I'm the biggest guy, but I don't obviously look like the normal surfer out there.
Sure, and I mean, at the same time, the other side of the coin is this, and the honest side of that is I'm not pursuing something as like the Olympics, right? I'm not pursuing something that is that singular focused of a goal.
Yeah.
And that's that competitive that any deviation from that goal will hurt you.
Yeah. And you're ready at all times.
But chances are, if you're gonna be an Olympic medalist, you already know that.
Sure. Yeah. When you're training for Olympics. And I've worked with some of the guys that were prepping for the trials. You're on lockdown. They're doing their thing, but everything revolves around the training and winning. I mean, it's that simple.
And that's amazing, And I think it's good for anyone at some point to train with that intensity for a while.
Yep.
Just so you know what that's about. You can make that honest thing to yourself and say, this is what 100% everything involved looks like.
I'm surprised
the UPS guy felt he needed to knock.
I'm surprised my dog hasn't freaked out. She's crushed from the heat. Let's close out with this question. Well, we got two, but number one, for everybody listening, I'm gonna link up Matt's Instagram account because you're always posting photos with description of your training, throwing and things like that. So one of the questions was, how are you programming your throwing for the Highland Games? Let's say you're doing 5-3-1, and I've seen you post like, hey, today's a throwing day, or today I did this, and you're kind of posting your workouts. And I'll link up your, your book and everything. But let's just answer that quickly. Can people throw on the same day they're lifting, or is it not?
Yeah, of course you can.
Right?
Yeah, of course you can. With that said, it takes a little bit more. Don't go put in a 3-hour destroyer session in the gym and think that you're going to be able to go throw. Throwing is going to involve the body being able to work pretty, in harmony, and be able to find some stretch and find some explosive power. If you want to go, throw first.
Yes.
And if you want to kill yourself in the gym,
do that later.
The whole point of being an athlete, especially a competitive athlete in a sport that doesn't use a barbell, and that's what I keep referencing, is that everything I do in the gym is GPP. Every time I squat, that's only to make me a better thrower. And so I don't stress whether I'm squatting to a high box. I don't squat, is it a front squat? Is it, a Hatfield squat? Is it with bands? It doesn't fucking matter. Is it making my legs and back strong? The way I program, it varies time of the year for me. And since my season's about 6 months long and I need to peak 3 times during my season. And so figure I'll run 12, 14 weeks, pretty hot, and then I have a little back off and then back into it. And the amount of time I'm spending throwing ramps up during that. And the truth is, you're not going to get any better at shooting free throws or your sport lifting weights.
You got to do the skill.
You got to have the skill. And if you're not doing the skill so that the extra strength you're building transfers to that, you're wasting your time.
And I always say this, I go, strength is a skill, and skill is a strength. So let's say I've seen athletes, they fall in love with the training but not the sport, and then somebody who's maybe not as quote-unquote gym strong beats them in many of the different, in throwing, in wrestling, in football. There's guys that could destroy the gym but not the sport itself. So there's got to be a blend.
Look like Tarzan, play like Jane.
So if you suck at throwing, throw more. Dial in your throwing. Throwing is the priority.
Right.
If you suck at wrestling or football, but you love the weight room, but you're training for football, you got to spend more time working on wrestling skill or whatever football skill it is. So I can't emphasize that enough. But I'll say this, that if everybody's, and we say all things being equal, there's no such thing. There's never all things being equal. So it's kind of just like a crappy phrase. But let's say that a football team is not doing well and they're losing. Well, if all you do is get your guys stronger, faster, tougher, they will start playing better, period.
Of course. Well, you're giving them more skills to bring out to the field.
Yeah, now they've got more confidence. Now they could be stronger and more explosive at the end of a game when the other team is gassing. Now they're used to grinding and fighting. They battled in the gym. They could bring it. So I believe that the weight room is the ultimate equalizer if you train the mind the right way. Let's close out.
You can't sacrifice. With that said, like you're saying though, you can't spend all your time in the weight room and never learn to run any plays.
That's it.
That's not going to work.
Got to blend them.
You can't just show up there and be the biggest, strongest guys and not have any fucking clue how to play football.
Right.
And so that's the same for throwing. And so for me, I throw 3 days a week, usually in season. And if I'm competing, that'll be like a 4th day. I usually nothing I throw is heavy. So it doesn't take a long time for me to recover. I can throw 3 days in a row. I can throw the same day I lift. It's just simply a skill that I need to get the reps in, and focused reps, not just shitty reps. I need reps that I'm working on trying to fix a technical problem and trying to have, difference in intensity throughout my season changes. Early in the season, I'm going to take a lot of throws during practice because I need repetition.
Yep.
That's the big difference you see, guys, is that I don't have to worry about any of the movement for about 90% of my throw because it's ingrained in muscle memory. And so since that's happening, I can think about one thing in particular because I know the rest of it's going to take care of itself. I don't have to think about the other 20.
Yeah,
So that only comes from reps.
Right. And
then
that's
later
why
in the season, I'll go out and take 5 throws and try to hit a big one.
Okay.
And that way I build that confidence because I only get 3 throws in a competition.
So you're training yourself.
I don't want to be a dude that can hit a big one 20 throws in.
Yes, you're training yourself. Right, you're training yourself to handle the rigors of competition, which everybody listening, if you're a coach of a sport, take that into account to train your athletes psychologically for the game, whatever it is. Okay?
I mean, if you're a weightlifter, don't give your athlete 20 minutes between lifts.
Yeah. If you're a wrestling coach, bring in maybe some of your alumni to wrestle some of your guys so they learn to handle their nerves, learn to wrestle a match. Maybe have them wrestle a guy that's stronger. Maybe have them wrestle a newer guy who's a little bit not as technical, but is a little bit that's a little bit wild. Yeah, wrestle a new guy who's a little bit more wild and is going to force you to expend more energy during the first period. So there's so many ways of training. I think, like, if you're a coach, you've got to read a lot of the overseas training manuals. I feel like they've done it
a long time.
And it you might think it's advanced, but I feel like they're just using common sense.
Of course.
They're not closed-minded, is what it is. So let's close out this. We're on the hour. I don't want to keep you. This is a good question. This is from Edgar. Edgar's an awesome guy. He came out to the last certification I did. He had posted a while ago on his Instagram, like a before-after transformation, how much weight he lost. I love this guy. Super cool guy. So his question is, I'm training a father and son duo with the focus being on the son. It's a test run on a family training program to make parents more aware of the need for physical preparedness. But the father, although he expresses the desire to train with his words, he never puts in the work, and it's affecting his son's work, meaning his father's kind of lazy or not crushing it, so the son is not stepping up. How would you handle this? Anything is helpful. Sorry for being long-winded. Edgar, you're the man. No sweat, bro. So this is what I would do. I've been running the 2 gyms now, the one for 9 years, the other for 3.5, and we just do not let parents train with the kids. It just doesn't work for many reasons. Number one, the kid might want to impress his dad, or he might feel out of place with his dad.
Sure.
And also, a father of a teenager is usually mid to late 40s. Dude, a 45-year-old compared to a 15-year-old is a whole nother world. A 15-year-old could, like, eat shit all day, not sleep. Yes, it's like they have a motor that never shuts off. So, man, what I would do is you got to stand for something, meaning you might have to connect with the father and just say, listen, I think what's going to be the best thing for your son is that I train him with other kids his age, because it seems like this is maybe pushing you too much, and he seems like he's uncomfortable trying to do the work. Can we find a way where I'm either just training him and we separate you and I have you train with other adults? And I think that, like, we feel bad saying it, but you want to turn the words so that it comes out like, listen, I'm trying to give your son everything I got. That's really what I want to do. I want to give you everything I got, but together it seems like it's not working. I want to try this. And we've had dads tell me, they're like, Zach, I want to come train with my son. And it's like, damn, I forget what it's like to be 15, 16 until I see my guys train. I'm like, damn, I just destroyed them. And now they're here for another 30 minutes? And then I remember I used to do like 50 sets of squats.
Dude, I think back to some of the really nasty workouts I had during high school football.
Yeah.
And I'll say that, like, our high school football program wasn't real structured. And it was pretty loose. We did basic lifts. We squatted. We power cleaned. We did bench. And we were strong. And what I did learn to do in that time was fucking work my ass off.
Yeah.
And that skill has stayed with me. But, dude, I would die if I tried to do any of that now. But my joints felt great then.
Yes. And you're just, like, yesterday I trained a kid. Oh, what did they do? They did tire flips, and it was hot as hell in the gym. Must have been like 90 degrees. He did tire flips. Then they did benching. Then they did sleds with carries. Then they did abs and bands. Then he said, yeah, dude. Then I went to the sport club and I played basketball, and then I did shoulder raises, and then I went swimming. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell, dude? I just did. So for me, all right, I train, I'm done for today. So Edgar, sometimes, bro, you got to take a stand and you have to learn to twist the word so you don't offend the person. Because for me, I know who I'm about. I've learned that our gym does not work trying to blend adults with young kids. Even if let's say the adults are more fit than the kids, it's awkward. If I'm training with my dad and my buddies are all with me and they're cursing and kind of freaking out, getting all hyped up, I feel weird if I'm like, yeah, let's fucking go, and then my dad's gonna talk to me in the car and be like, son, you can't be dropping those F-bombs,
Right.
So
kids need that time to develop.
yeah, so I feel like it's very difficult. The old saying of CrossFit, they used to say, yeah, we train a soccer mom next to a Navy SEAL. No, I don't think Navy SEALs want to train next to soccer moms. I don't care. Maybe a couple of them, but
it's a nice thing to say.
Right, but that was like always the thing with CrossFit. It's like, we will train a soccer mom next to a Navy SEAL. We will train the same. There's just no way.
It'll be highly.
It's not working.
At the end of the day, my advice to Edgar is the same type of thing, right? Is part of what these people are paying you and coming to you for is your expertise and your ability as a coach to say, this is not the best situation that we should be doing.
Even if it's in your garage, meaning I don't think Edgar owns his own place. I think he's training him at his
gym's a gym.
Gym's a gym, baby. Yeah.
And that's the truth. Anywhere that you can go work and put in the effort, and it has some simple equipment, barbell, and a squat rack.
But if you're the expert coach, and this is a learning lesson, meaning every coach experiences a point in time where they made a mistake and say, I've accepted to train the wrong person.
And
that's
now, exactly right. And
now I need
that's
to
not
tell
to
them.
say that they're shit. You just may not be the best fit for them.
Yes, true.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's why there's a lot of coaches. That's why we have all the variety of people that we want to get. If somebody was trying to prep for the Olympia, I'm not their guy.
Right.
I don't have any information to give you.
You know what you're about, and I think
but that's a strength as a coach.
Yeah, so me, I know that I'm a very intense coach, so I'm best suited for athletes who are engaged in an intense sport.
That too, and I think the way that you coach works very, very well with that high school athlete. I think about that now, and I think about how fired up I got dealing with my high school coaches, and them getting loud and screaming and fuck, come on, and all this.
Need that.
It worked for me then.
They need that, and as much as I don't want, it's like I tell people, I go, dude, it's emotionally exhausting to coach these young kids because some of them don't even know how to pull their own energy out.
Right.
They need you to do it. So Edgar and all coaches out there, you got to know who you're for, what you stand for, and if you have to, switch the relation with a member, you need to say, hey, I think let's try this. So it's not maybe so finite, or I'd like to test drive this because this is better for so-and-so. So that's how I started.
Just be honest with them and tell them what's going on and what you're seeing. And then put the ball in their court.
Yeah.
That, we need to change this up. I think this will work better.
Yeah.
I think this will benefit both of you more.
Yes, I care about both of you, but I feel like you're.
If this isn't what they want to do, that's their decision, and they need to maybe go somewhere else.
And maybe, that's right. Maybe both of them will say, "Hey, Edgar, you know what? Fuck you, bro." They might say that, man. And then you'll feel better anyway.
Everybody's fucking cup of tea.
At the end of the day, you'll feel better too. The Ultimate Warrior would always say to me, he goes, in life, it's not all the things you could say yes to, it's the things you could say fuck you to. And I know he didn't.
That's one of the Joe Rogan's things,
Who could
I'm far from a guy making a lot of fucking money or anything like that. But what's the point of having fuck you money if you never say fuck you?
Yeah, and what you just can't be for everybody, because when you try to make everyone happy, you are unhappy. So the earlier you could learn that lesson in your life, the better off you will be. I could take that lesson. I've applied it to so many things. And then when I learned to stand up for myself, it's the same as training your muscles. The more you train them, the stronger they get, and the smarter you train them. So you got to learn that. All right, let's close this out, Matt. Give them your website again, and then I'm going to link it up at undergroundstrength.tv with show notes.
So it is thehate.com. It is HVIII.com. And I've got apparel there as well as a new mobility product. You've got a couple.
We put them on the ex-wife. We put them on kettlebells. Dude, they're nuts. I also want to ask you, why did you create the mobility sleeve? Because you started taking this more seriously?
Yeah, it's just finding different ways. And the more I've, been fortunate enough to be around guys like Kelly Starrett and different mobility coaches, since I was trying to extend my career as an athlete, and that's something I'm going to have to start focusing on, is quality of movement as well. And it's, and especially for a thrower, an athlete, flexibility, some things like that. For me, they allow me more time to apply force on them.
The healthier, I tell athletes.
The healthier I am, the better I can recover. Those things allow me to train harder. And then also, if I have some better movement and I'm not stiff, I get further range of motion when I'm throwing. And if I can apply force for an extra 6 inches, that's huge for me. That's longer I get to work on, while throwing.
I tell our guys that if you're going to train hard, you got to recover hard. And I go, remember, it's not always the best athlete that's qualifying for states or getting the scholarship. It's oftentimes the guy who's showing that he can handle the rigors and he's the healthiest, meaning some guys don't make it because the shoulder, the knee, this, you got to you got to work your soft tissues. And,
right. That's what this was for me. I'm a bigger guy at 280 pounds and muscles thick and dense. And so I would find that trying to foam roll or even on a PVC pipe, something hard, that I just couldn't spend enough time and get into it because I'm basically in a plank position.
I tell,
and my legs don't relax.
And I tell the kids when they're wrong, I go, look, it's okay that it hurts a little bit, man. You got to break that shit up, and then it should hurt less and less. I mean, this is what I want to close out, as Arnold would say, the advices. The advices that I want to say is, it's very cool to deadlift, squat, throw, run, but the stuff that's not as exciting and not as cool is working your soft tissue. But it begins to feel great, and that's another part of a discipline that you're like, man, I'm disciplined.
It allows you to do the other part hard.
And there's also a power that you get within yourself when you know you're disciplined to do the little things that maybe aren't the most exciting, such as soft tissue work it's not as exciting as your deadlift PR, but it makes you feel awesome. And at the base of everything, if you don't feel good, you just can't perform good, not just in the gym, but in life. A lot of people following our parents, and they're trying to do stuff with their kids. And you get to that point at my age where, you're going to train hard. You got to handle your recovery. You got to, as Kelly says, you got to handle your business. And he tells people, when you get to the gym, we're training. I'm not doing all this mobility with you. You need to show up early, stay after late, and do it at home. Take care of your...
Best thing ever invented is seat heaters.
Seat heaters.
Nothing like getting that low back nice and warm before I get out to the throw. Or
take care of your business, baby. Cool. Well,
and that's why I developed, this was because I'm traveling a lot, and this gives me something that I can really dig in and let time and gravity do the work instead of me fighting more. And this fits in anything I'm carrying. And I can simply put it on a kettlebell. The gym already has the equipment I need.
Yep.
This just makes it better.
So you don't got to carry the rumble. We missed a couple questions because they started coming through. You know what you could do if you want. If you have time, Matt, hit up that Instagram post.
Yeah, no problem.
And drop some questions. Somebody was asking me about my shoulder and athletes, younger athletes, recruiting and stuff like that. So we'll tackle that through the Instagram comments. This was awesome. Everybody listening, check out Matt. And I will link that all up at undergroundstrength.tv. And simple as that, man. This was awesome. We tackled some cool life and training stuff. So again, everybody, the reason for a podcast is to talk to your friends, because when you get so busy, sucks, man. We
Maybe
lose
that's truth, but it's
we lose touch.
the success side of this, the marketing side of this, the whether I get some sales out of this. Those are all things that are a side effect of me getting to interact with someone I give a shit about.
And just being passionate about what you do. And,
Yeah. Also,
you know what you're about.
20% off for any of your listeners want to use Underground Strength as a code on site.
Do they got to use capital letters, or does it matter?
Just type in Underground Strength.
Nice. I will link that up in the show notes, and we're gonna get that out. You are the man, Matt, and everybody who listens. Man, it means a lot to me. You guys post the comments on Instagram. I always tell them, I go, my discipline also comes from them dropping questions and expecting me to perform. So that's my competition. Like, can I post a better, repetition on the Instagram for them, because inspiring them inspires me.
Sure, always be better.
Cool. All right, everybody, kick today in the dick. Always party, as Matt says. And cool. Thanks, everybody. You're the best. Much love.